The rain battered the windows of the small coffee shop in Burlington, Vermont, as if the sky itself were weeping for secrets long buried. Emma sat frozen, her coffee untouched, as her younger sister Lily's words echoed in her mind. I'm in love with the woman Emma. I'm gay. The confession sliced through a decade of silence, unearthing a truth Emma had spent years trying to bury her own. Emma, 32, adjusted her glasses, her fingers trembling slightly as she gripped the edge of the table. Across from her, Lily, 24, leaned forward, her dark eyes searching for something: acceptance, understanding, or perhaps forgiveness. The air between them was thick with unspoken history, a tapestry of love, shame, and choices made under pressure. 10 years ago, Emma had walked a different path, one paved with conversion therapy sessions and a desperate attempt to fix herself. She had emerged claiming victory, marrying a man, building a life that fit the mold her conservative family demanded. But now Lily's courage threatened to unravel it all. The coffee shop buzzed softly with the hum of conversation and the clink of porcelain, but to Emma, it felt like the world had narrowed to this single moment. She remembered her own coming out at 22, the way her parents' faces had hardened, the way they'd sent her to a counselor who promised to cure her. She'd endured months of guilt, prayers, and lectures, until she convinced herself and everyone else that she was normal. She had buried her love for women so deep it felt like a stranger's memory. Now Lily's confession was a mirror, reflecting the truth Emma had tried to erase. Say something, Lily whispered, her voice barely audible over the rain. Her short, tousled hair framed her face, and her sweater hung loosely on her slight frame, making her look younger, more fragile than she was. Please, Em. I need you to understand. Emma's throat tightened. She wanted to reach out, to pull Lily into a hug and tell her everything would be okay. But the weight of her own past pressed down on her, a reminder of the lies she'd lived. I'm happy for you, she managed, the words tasting hollow. But it's not easy, Lily. You know how Mom and Dad are. Lily's eyes flashed with defiance. I don't care what they think. I love Sarah and I'm not going to hide it. I thought you, of all people, would get it. The accusation stung, sharp and precise. Emma's mind raced back to her college years, to stolen moments with a girl named Rachel, whose laughter had once felt like home. She'd loved Rachel fiercely, but fear had won. She'd chosen safety over truth, and now her sister was choosing the opposite. Emma envied her, and that envy burned. I do get it, Emma said, her voice cracking. But it's complicated. You're young, Lily. You don't know what this could cost you. Lily leaned back, crossing her arms. Don't patronize me. I'm not a kid anymore. I know what I'm risking, but I also know what I'm gaining. Sarah makes me feel alive, Emma. Don't you remember what that's like? Emma's heart stuttered. She did remember vividly. The memory of Rachel's hand in hers, the way their fingers had intertwined under a starlit sky, was a wound that had never fully healed. But she'd built a life since then. A husband, Mark, a stable job as a high school English teacher, a house with a picket fence. It was the life she was supposed to want. Yet, sitting here watching Lily's fierce determination, Emma felt the cracks in that life widen. The rain slowed to a drizzle, and the coffee shop's warmth felt stifling. Emma glanced at the other patrons, oblivious to the storm brewing at their table. Have you told Mom and Dad yet? She asked, dreading the answer. Lily shook her head. Not yet. I wanted to tell you first. I thought you'd be on my side. Emma's chest ached. She wanted to be on Lily's side, to be the sister who could guide her through this. But how could she, when she'd betrayed herself all those years ago? I am on your side, she said softly. But it's not that simple. They'll make it hard, Lily. They'll try to change you. Like they changed you? Lily's voice was sharp, cutting through the haze of Emma's thoughts. The words landed like a slap. Emma opened her mouth to protest, but nothing came out. The truth was undeniable. She had let them change her. She had let fear win. And now her sister's bravery was forcing her to confront the life she'd chosen and the one she'd abandoned. I'm not going to let them do that to me, Lily said, her voice steady now. I'm going to live my truth, Emma. I just need to know if you'll stand with me. Emma looked into her sister's eyes, seeing the same fire she'd once had, before the world had doused it. She wanted to say yes, to promise unwavering support. But the weight of her own choices, The life she'd built on a foundation of compromise held her back. "I need time," she whispered. "I need to think." Lily's face fell, but she nodded. "Okay. But don't take too long, Em. I'm not waiting forever." As Lily stood to leave, the bell above the coffee shop door chimed, signaling the end of their conversation and the beginning of something much bigger. Emma watched her sister step out into the rain, her silhouette fading into the gray. Alone, Emma pressed her hands to her face, feeling the warmth of tears she hadn't allowed herself to shed in years. The truth she'd buried was clawing its way to the surface, and she wasn't sure she could stop it. That night, Emma lay awake in her quiet suburban home, the soft snores of her husband, Mark, filling the room. The darkness felt heavy, suffocating as Lily's words replayed in her mind. "Don't you remember what that's like?" She did. God, she did. The memory of Rachel was a ghost that lingered in the corners of her life, whispering of a time when love had felt boundless, before fear had caged it. Emma slipped out of bed, careful not to wake Mark, and padded to the living room. She pulled an old shoebox from the top shelf of the closet, one she hadn't touched in years. Inside were relics of her past, a faded photo of her and Rachel at a college bonfire, their smiles bright against the flames. A handwritten note Rachel had slipped into her pocket one night, promising forever. A bracelet Rachel had made her, woven with blue and green threads. Emma's fingers traced the bracelet, and a sob caught in her throat. She hadn't just buried her love for Rachel, she'd buried herself. The next morning, Emma drove to the high school where she taught, her mind a tangle of guilt and longing. The classroom, usually a sanctuary of literature and ideas, felt like a stage where she played a role. Her students were discussing The Great Gatsby, and as they debated Gatsby's unattainable dream, Emma's thoughts drifted to her own. She'd wanted a life with Rachel, a life where she could be herself. But she'd chosen safety, and now Lily was forcing her to question that choice. At lunch, Emma's colleague and friend, Claire, noticed her distraction. "You okay, Em? You look like you're carrying the world," Claire said, her warm brown eyes full of concern. Emma hesitated. Claire was openly queer, a beacon of confidence in their small town. She'd always admired Claire's unapologetic authenticity, but it also made her feel exposed, as if Claire could see through her carefully constructed facade. "It's Lily," Emma admitted. "She came out to me yesterday. She's in love with a woman." Claire's face lit up. "That's amazing. How's she doing with it?" "She's brave," Emma said, her voice catching. "Braver than I ever was." Claire tilted her head, studying her. "Sounds like there's a story there." Emma looked away, her fingers twisting the wedding ring on her hand. "I just want to protect her. Our parents, they're not going to take it well." Claire reached across the table, her hand resting lightly on Emma's. "You can't protect her from everything, Em. But you can be there for her. You can show her she's not alone." The words hit hard. Emma wanted to be that person for Lily, but it meant confronting her own past. It meant admitting that the life she'd built with Mark, while comfortable, was a lie. She loved Mark in a way, his kindness, his steadiness, but it wasn't the love she'd once known, the kind that set her soul on fire. That evening, Emma met Lily at a park near their childhood home. The air was crisp, the leaves crunching underfoot as they walked along a wooded trail. Lily had brought Sarah, her girlfriend, and Emma felt a pang of nervousness as they approached. Sarah was tall, with warm brown skin and a bright smile, her energy radiating confidence and warmth. "It's so great to meet you," Sarah said, her voice genuine. "Lily talks about you all the time." Emma managed a smile, but her heart raced. Seeing Lily and Sarah together, the way their hands brushed, the way they shared quiet glances stirred something deep within her. It was like watching a version of herself she'd never allowed to exist. "I'm happy to meet you too," Emma said, her voice softer than she intended. They sat on a bench, the sunset painting the sky in hues of orange and pink. Lily leaned against Sarah, her face relaxed in a way Emma hadn't seen in years. "So, have you thought about what I said?" Lily asked, her tone cautious but hopeful. Emma took a deep breath. "I want to support you, Lily. I do. But I'm scared for you. Mom and Dad, they're not going to make this easy." Sarah's expression hardened slightly. "We're ready for that. We're not hiding who we are." Emma envied their certainty. She wanted to tell them about her own past, about Rachel, about the conversion therapy that had left scars no one could see. But the words stuck in her throat. Instead she said, just, be careful. They can be relentless. Lily's eyes narrowed. You sound like you're trying to talk me out of it. I'm not, Emma said quickly. I know what it's like to face them. It's not just words, Lily. It's pressure. It's guilt. It's losing pieces of yourself. Lily reached for her hand, squeezing it. Then help me, Em. Help me keep those pieces. Emma's eyes burned with unshed tears. She wanted to promise Lily everything, but the weight of her own compromises held her back. As the sun dipped below the horizon, she felt the truth pressing closer, demanding to be acknowledged. She wasn't just fighting for Lily, she was fighting for herself. The following weekend, Emma stood outside her parents' house, her heart pounding as she gripped the doorknob. Lily had asked her to be there when she told their parents about Sarah, and Emma had agreed, though dread coiled in her stomach. The house, a tidy colonial in a quiet Burlington neighborhood, held memories of her own confrontation with their parents a decade ago. She could still hear her mother's voice. This isn't who you are, Emma. You're confused. Inside, the living room was warm, the scent of her mother's apple pie lingering in the air. Their parents, Ellen and Robert, sat on the couch, their faces expectant. Lily stood near the fireplace, Sarah at her side, their hands clasped tightly. Emma hovered near the door, feeling like an outsider in her own family. Mom, Dad, Lily began, her voice steady despite the tension in the room. I need to tell you something. I'm in love with Sarah. We're together. The silence that followed was deafening. Ellen's face paled, her hands folding tightly in her lap. Robert's jaw tightened, his eyes flicking to Emma as if seeking an ally. What do you mean together? He asked, his voice low. We're in love, Lily said, her chin lifting. I'm gay. Ellen's hand flew to her mouth and Robert stood, pacing to the window. This is a phase, Lily, he said, his voice strained. You're young. You're confused. I'm not confused, Lily shot back. I know who I am. Emma's chest tightened, her own memories flooding back. She'd heard those same words from her father, felt the same suffocating judgment. She wanted to speak, to defend Lily, but fear held her tongue. She glanced at Sarah, who stood tall, her arm around Lily's waist, a silent pillar of strength. Ellen turned to Emma, her eyes pleading. You went through something like this, didn't you? You fixed it. You can help her. The words were a knife to Emma's heart. She felt Lily's gaze on her, sharp and expectant. Mom, Emma said, her voice barely above a whisper. It's not something to fix. Ellen blinked, confused. But you did. You got help and now you're happy with Mark. You're normal. The word normal burned. Emma's hands clenched into fists, her nails digging into her palms. She wanted to scream that she wasn't normal, that she'd never been fixed, that she'd only learned to hide. But the weight of her parents' expectations, the life she'd built, kept her silent. Lily stepped forward, her voice trembling with anger. Emma, tell them. Tell them you understand. Tell them you're on my side. Emma's throat closed. She looked at Lily, at the fire in her eyes, and then at her parents, their faces etched with disapproval. I want Lily to be happy, she said, the words weak, inadequate. That's not enough, Lily snapped. I need you to stand with me, not just wish me well. Sarah placed a hand on Lily's shoulder, calming her. Let's give them time, she said softly. This is a lot for them. But Lily shook her head, tears brimming. I don't have time, Sarah. I need my family now. The room felt like it was closing in. Emma's mind raced, torn between her sister's courage and her own cowardice. She remembered the conversion therapy sessions, the way they'd stripped her of her identity, leaving her hollow. She couldn't let Lily face that alone. But speaking up meant unraveling her own life, admitting to Mark, to herself, that she'd been living a lie. Robert turned back to the room, his face resolute. We'll get you help, Lily. There are programs, counselors. No, Emma said suddenly, her voice cutting through the tension. All eyes turned to her, and she felt the weight of their stares. No programs. No counselors. She doesn't need to be fixed. Ellen's eyes widened. Emma, what are you saying? Emma's heart pounded, but she forced the words out. I'm saying, I went through that. I let you send me to those people and it didn't fix me. It broke me. The room fell silent again. But this time it was different, a stunned, fragile silence. Lily's eyes softened, a mix of relief and pain. Sarah squeezed Lily's hand, her expression one of quiet respect. Ellen and Robert stared at Emma, their faces a mix of shock and betrayal. You're married, Robert said, his voice hard. You chose a different path. I chose what you wanted, Emma said, tears streaming down her face. But it wasn't me. And I won't let you do that to Lily. The words hung in the air, a declaration that changed everything. Emma felt exposed, raw but also free, as if a weight had lifted. She looked at Lily, who stepped forward and pulled her into a fierce hug. Thank you, Lily whispered, her voice thick with emotion. As they held each other, Emma knew this was only the beginning. The truth was out and there was no going back. The weeks that followed were a storm of emotions. Emma's confession had fractured the fragile peace of their family. Ellen and Robert retreated into silence, their disappointment palpable in every phone call Emma dodged. Lily, meanwhile, leaned into her relationship with Sarah, their love a beacon of defiance against their parents' disapproval. Emma found herself caught in the middle, trying to support Lily while grappling with the truth she'd unearthed about herself. At home, Mark sensed the shift in her. You've been distant, he said one evening, as they sat at the dinner table, the silence between them heavy. Is it Lily? Or something else? Emma's heart raced. She loved Mark's steadiness, his kindness, but she couldn't keep lying to him. It's me, she admitted, her voice trembling. I haven't been honest. Not with you, not with myself. Mark's brow furrowed, but he waited, giving her space to continue. Emma took a deep breath, the words spilling out like a dam breaking. Before we met, I was in love with a woman. I thought I could leave that part of me behind, but I can't. I'm still in love with that part of myself. Mark's face was unreadable, a mix of hurt and understanding. Are you saying you're gay? He asked quietly. I don't know what I am, Emma said, tears falling. But I know I haven't been fully myself with you. And that's not fair. Mark reached for her hand, his touch gentle. I love you, Emma. But I need you to be honest with me and with yourself. Whatever that means. The conversation left Emma raw, but it also gave her clarity. She couldn't keep living a half-life, pretending to be someone she wasn't. She began seeing a therapist not to fix herself, but to understand who she was now after years of hiding. The sessions were painful, unearthing memories of Rachel, of the conversion therapy, of the shame that had shaped her. But they were also liberating, giving her permission to feel again. Meanwhile, Lily and Sarah faced their own battles. Their parents had reluctantly agreed to meet Sarah, but the dinner was tense, filled with stilted conversation and unspoken judgments. Emma watched as Lily held Sarah's hand under the table, her defiance a quiet strength. We're not asking for your approval, Lily said at one point, her voice firm. We're asking for your respect. Ellen's eyes filled with tears, but she nodded. Robert remained silent, his face a mask of conflict. Emma felt a surge of pride for her sister, but also a pang of guilt. She hadn't been that brave at Lily's age. She'd folded under the pressure, and now she was paying the price. One evening, Emma found herself at Claire's apartment, seeking advice. Claire poured them wine, her small living room filled with books and art, a testament to her unapologetic life. You're at a crossroads, Em, Claire said, her voice warm but direct. You can keep hiding or you can start living. But you can't do both. Emma sipped her wine, her thoughts drifting to Rachel. She'd looked her up online a few weeks ago, finding her living in Seattle working as an artist. She was single, her social media filled with vibrant paintings and quiet moments of joy. Emma had wanted to reach out, but fear had stopped her. What would she even say? I'm sorry I broke your heart. I'm trying to find mine again. I don't know how to start over, Emma admitted. I've built this whole life and it's not awful. But it's not me. Claire leaned forward, her eyes kind. You don't have to burn it all down. Just take one step. Be honest with yourself, with the people you love. The rest will follow. That night, Emma wrote a letter to Rachel. It wasn't an apology or a plea, it was a confession, a way of reclaiming her truth. She wrote about their time together, about the love she'd buried, about the person she was trying to become. She didn't send it, not yet, but writing it felt like a step toward freedom. As winter settled over Burlington, Emma began to rebuild. She and Mark agreed to separate, not out of anger, but out of a shared understanding that they both deserved honesty. It was painful, but it was also right. Emma moved into a small apartment, filling it with books and mementos of her past, including the bracelet Rachel had made her. She wore it now, a reminder of who she'd been and who she could be again. Lily and Sarah became her anchors, their love a reminder of what was possible. Emma joined them at a local queer community event, her first time in a space where she could be herself without fear. The laughter, the music, the sense of belonging, it was overwhelming, but it was also home. Spring arrived in Burlington, bringing with it a sense of renewal. Emma stood in her new apartment, sunlight streaming through the windows, illuminating the life she was building. It wasn't perfect, she was still navigating her identity, still healing from years of self-denial, but it was hers. For the first time in a decade, she felt like she was living, not just surviving. Lily and Sarah's relationship had grown stronger, their love a quiet rebellion against their parents' lingering disapproval. Ellen and Robert had softened slightly, attending a family dinner where Sarah was included, though the tension remained. Emma watched her sister navigate the challenges with grace, her courage a constant inspiration. "You're my hero, you know," Emma told Lily one afternoon, as they sat in a park, the air sweet with blooming flowers. Lily laughed, nudging her. "You're not so bad yourself, Em. You're finally showing up." The words warmed Emma's heart. She was showing up not just for Lily but for herself. She'd started attending a support group for queer adults, sharing her story and listening to others. Each meeting chipped away at the shame she'd carried for so long, replacing it with a fragile but growing sense of pride. One day, Emma found herself at a local art gallery, drawn by a flyer for an exhibit featuring queer artists. As she wandered through the displays, her breath caught. There on the wall was a painting she recognized, a vibrant swirl of blues and greens, the colors of the bracelet she wore. The artist's name was Rachel. Emma's heart raced as she scanned the room. And then she saw her Rachel standing across the gallery, her hair longer now, streaked with gray, but her smile as radiant as ever. Their eyes met and time seemed to collapse, the years melting away. "Emma." Rachel's voice was soft, uncertain, but warm. "Hi," Emma managed, her throat tight. "Your work. It's incredible." Rachel smiled, stepping closer. "I never thought I'd see you here. How are you?" They talked for hours, the gallery fading into the background. Emma told Rachel everything, her marriage, her sister, her journey back to herself. Rachel listened, her eyes full of understanding. She'd had her own struggles, her own journey, but she'd never stopped loving the woman she'd been with, Emma. "I never stopped thinking about you," Rachel admitted, her voice quiet. "I wondered what happened to you." "I'm sorry," Emma said, tears falling. "I was scared. I wasn't ready." Rachel reached for her hand, her touch familiar and new all at once. "You're here now. That's what matters." They didn't fall back into love that day, but they started something new, a friendship, a possibility. Emma felt a spark she hadn't felt in years, a reminder of the life she'd once dreamed of. She wasn't ready to dive in, not yet, but she was ready to keep moving forward. As summer approached, Emma and Lily stood together at a pride parade in Burlington, Sarah at Lily's side, Rachel nearby. The streets were alive with color and music, a celebration of love in all its forms. Emma held Lily's hand, their bond stronger than ever, and felt the weight of her past lift just a little more. The truth she'd buried had been her cage, but it was also her key. By facing it, she'd found not just her sister, but herself. And in that moment, surrounded by love and possibility, Emma knew she was finally free. Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe to get notifications about next videos.